Everyone. We're going to have risk factors in stablecoin and DeFi design and best practices for treasury management. Super exciting. And it will be moderated by Jessica Salomon. And the panelists are Gerrit Hall, Mariam Kouanda, who's into stablecoin protocol, and Santiago Sabater from Rabadon.
Hi, how's it going, everyone? My name is Jess Salomon. I'm super excited to be here in East Barcelona. I just got here last night, but I'm thrilled to take on the Barcelona nightlife after this productive panel that we're going to be having. Just to give a little bit of background on myself, so I was the first community manager at MakerDAO. I started the day after single collateral DAI launched in December 2017. Since then, I have been working on a number of different exciting things, and Maker moved between the sort of business development and marketing departments. I eventually decided that business and marketing not so mutually exclusive in crypto, given that we're all sort of encouraging integrations, not necessarily selling a product for money, like say some of our other friends in Web 2. Post-Maker, I decided to integrate my experience and began consulting on growth. My first client was Aave, worked with Stanny directly from 2019 to March 2020, and then later led growth for 1inch, where I launched their token in 2021. You might remember that Christmas Eve airdrop. And now I'm working on a number of cool things across Web3 and focusing a bit more on NFTs and bridging, but of course, love that DeFi. So we've got a number of other like super fucking cool panelists, so I'd love for them to introduce themselves.
Oh, thank you. I don't know if I need to use this. I have the mic. My name is Gerrit. I am here on behalf of Llama Risk. Llama Risk writes for a very amazing Substack where about weekly they come out with these incredibly in-depth reports on all these different protocols, all the risk factors you might want to know about before you might consider using it. I'd like to say that if these reports were like actually being sold on Wall Street, they'd probably be paying like 100,000, 6 figures easily for these reports, and you get them all for free. So definitely recommend you check it out. I also do a lot of work with Curve Finance on developer relations, developer experience, and I also have been recently working on a new project. Yep, don't touch the mic or do? I'm good? Oh. Okay. I was double mic'd there. I was too much mic.
Oh, yeah. That's great. Okay, never mind. I'm the only one with mic. You got your own mics.
Yeah. And recently been working on a new project called Leviathan News. So a lot of stuff been in DeFi since about 2020, been in crypto since 2014. Very excited to see so many people here.
Great, thank you. My name is Santiago, or Tisa for the people, as some of you may know me. I started working full-time in crypto in 2017 at a Latin American fintech company where we made available different DeFi products to, thousands of people in Latin America, just allowing them to directly deposit on Compound, on Aave, on DAI savings rate. Now it's hot again, but back then it paid 8%, which was a lot. That got acquired by blockchain.com. And since 2020, in 2020, I co-founded Rabadon with Ariel over there. We started as a prop trading firm, and we ran 2 different products. One is we're very heavy on delta neutral stuff, mainly on stablecoins and USDC, and then we do directional products in which we, make investment decisions based on our good judgment. And lately, we've been diving into treasury management for CeFi and DeFi companies, and we allow them to, maximize their treasury in the safest way possible on DeFi.
Hi everyone, I'm Mariam. I'm with Angle Protocol. Angle is a DeFi stablecoin, and our main product is AG Euro, which is a Euro decentralized stablecoin. As of today, AG Euro is the most traded Euro stablecoin out there. There's a big challenge for us because looking at the market cap of UST-pegged stablecoins, it's several hundred of trillions. And the market cap of Euro stablecoins is like 500 million. So there's a challenge there with expansion, but also building as many integrations and use cases as possible to make this an evidence and a standard. So that's where we are. Prior to working with Angle, I was an attorney, so working on regulatory issues and mergers and acquisitions.
Amazing. So now that we've met our rock stars, let's dive right in so we can hear what our rock stars have to inform us upon. So when I was 17 years old, my mother told me to put a $20 bill in my bra in case of emergencies. If you had a teenager today, what stablecoin would you advise her to use? In other words, this is just a fun way of saying, which of the stablecoins is your favorite and why? Or which of the stablecoins do you think is the most stable?
That's really, really challenging because we've seen pretty much over the last year, like, no stablecoin is safe, right? We've seen USDC was thought to be one of the safest ones, and we saw that terrifying weekend in April when that depegged. So I would recommend, if you can afford to, diversify. Try and put a bunch in a bunch of different pockets. Hope you can't lose too much, like doing a lot of work for Curve. I like putting it in Curve pools where you can at least maybe limit some of your risk. So if one stablecoin depegs, instead of losing everything, you might lose a piece. But there's no easy answers.
Yeah.
I like that you beat me to my second question about diversification.
This will be a short panel. Short panel.
Yeah, we got it. All right.
Yeah. I would tell my daughter to do their own due diligence. I'm not a financial advice guy.
Okay, no. So anyway, I was just fucking around with all that. I was trying to get people excited with the bra thing. What is actually your favorite stablecoin, and why is it your favorite stablecoin?
Yeah, I think that to pick your favorite stablecoin, you need to really pick apart like the whole DeFi ecosystem, and see, for example, that DAI has an underlying USDC, so it's the same risk, and you're just doubling the risk. You shouldn't take, for example, a bridge DAI because you have the bridge risk, you have the maker DAO risk, right? So if you really pick it apart, I think that you can really pick the safest option.
What is that, in your opinion?
If I have to say it, I would say right now that to pick USDC, just because it's really built on everything, right? If you take, for example, CUSDC, that's Compound USDC, it's hard coded to 1. So the whole of Compound is built upon, the fact that USDC is at 1, which isn't really the case, right? As we saw in the past.
Like given Terra, Silicon Valley collapses.
Yeah,
But we'll get to that later. I'll ask you about why you think that happened.
For sure.
All right, so USDC, I like that answer. Mariam, what are you thinking? What would you advise a 17-year-old girl today if she was to pick a stable coin in case of absolute emergency?
That's a great question, because what we're trying to do at Angle, or what I'm trying to do, is build my favorite stablecoin. It's true, and Gerrit touched on to something that's fundamental. It's the diversification bit. Yeah. And not only you want to diversify between the stablecoins you hold, but one challenge we're trying to address at Angle and with AG Euro is to diversify within that stablecoin. So now we're touching onto the subject of the backing, the collateral that are backing that stablecoin. And I think one challenge we need to address is, while picking these collaterals, you want them to be liquid enough, of course, because you want to liquidate and not be exposed to so much risk if there is volatility in the market. You also want to pick some, there's the aspect of profitability, because now with the liquid staking assets being a narrative that's booming out there, everybody wants to build a stable coin with LST that can bring you money on top of you being able to borrow that stable coin with it. So there are several criteria out there. You want to be careful with the backing, but something that I really like is that some actors out there, we're trying to do it, Maker is doing that as well with their Maker Burn, is to build analytics that are simple but very clear and complete for everyone to be able to go and see, hey, with that stablecoin, what's in the backing, what's the percentage, what are the risks associated with all these underlying collaterals, for everyone to be able to see that and pick, because when USDC, as you guys mentioned, almost collapsed, for some of these stablecoins out there, some people didn't know that they had that much USDC in the backing, so you want to be aware of these things.
Great. So I've just asked you all what your favorite stablecoin is, which I'd say the three of you have successfully evaded the question, which I absolutely respect. Now I'm going to ask you, what is your least favorite stablecoin and why?
Least favorite stablecoin. I have to admit, I have not touched a lot of USDD.
And what is USDD?
USDD is supposedly an over-collateralized stablecoin, but there's been some questions around it, and I just don't touch it. I'm sure other people do, and they do fine. Not for me.
Well, they might not.
So far, it's been fine.
Now we know. What do you think?
Well, I would say that my least favorite stablecoin is UST. right? It's not really a stablecoin. I think it's stable
Good
close
answer.
to zero, right? But I come from a country where, sadly, from Argentina, for those that don't know, where USD was unfortunately widely known, right? And a lot of lives were severely damaged by it. So I think that I would choose USD.
I feel you. I have opinions on that as well, but it's not my job to share them. What are you thinking, Mariam?
I'm going to bump off what Santi just said. He mentioned UST. I don't want to shoot a dead body because now it's dead. But so many people sometimes don't grasp the distinction between algorithmic stablecoins, people who have a collateral backing that is endogenic to the project, and over-collateralized stablecoin. And up until now, I have not been able to identify experimentations about algorithmic stablecoins that seem successful or sustainable, so I'll just go with that as well.
Yeah, no, super understandable. It is a bit difficult sometimes to define what is algorithmic versus what is collateralized, because a lot of times it's a bit of a hybrid, but it's not always clear and shouldn't necessarily be clear. So on to my next question, which I think could be a bit engaging. The majority of stable coins are pegged to the US dollar. However, the dollar has lost 86% of its value over the last 50 years. If we're actually interested in decentralization as attendees and speakers at ETH Barcelona, why are we pegging stablecoins to something that is centralized and manipulated constantly?
Okay.
Order, I mean, I can take it.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, well, I think that we're choosing, USD just because it's widely available. There are a lot of oracles, and it's been the, straight design. We're just piggy writing, I think it's the word in English. Sorry, upon just a lot of years of development. But I do think that, for example, a version of tokenized Treasury bills is actually it's a good way forward in order to have a stablecoin that actually maintains value and it's just not losing money every year. I do think that poses a threat in terms, or a question actually, in terms of in which part of the decentralization spectrum we want to be, right? So I think that's just food for thought for everyone here.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll ask you that next.
Sounds fun.
And not all of you guys have to answer this. It's kind of just like a way to think about things. I completely understand. We all think in terms of dollars. Like a banker in Argentina also is probably going to be denominating in USD.
Well, I hesitated because I'm from the United States and I don't have the global perspective, unfortunately.
Best economy in the world.
USA, right? We're number one. Well, it was ETH LATAM last year when I was there, and I got to talk to a lot of people that were so horrified by what happened, and it was really clear to me how very eye-opening because the massive inflation problems. When people saw UST, they thought for the first time in their life they're going to win, right? They thought they're beating the system. So I think that I don't have that a ton of experience, but it really seems like a lot of the world really does just rely on the United States dollar for whatever reason as that stable store of value. It's worth pointing out, 2022, the best investment you could have done was just hold a dollar.
Yeah. Well, nevertheless, sometimes being the prettiest girl in an ugly bunch doesn't actually make you that pretty. I wouldn't necessarily say that USD or the United States dollar is holding up as much as it could. However, in comparison to a lot of the other options, it might be seen as okay. But that's why we're all here innovating. So during previous black swan events, such as the collapse of Terra, bankruptcy of FTX, and shuttering of Silicon Valley, even collateralized stablecoins like USDC, like we were mentioning, which many users feel was a safe haven, dropped to around 90 cents. Why did that happen?
So, because it was exposed to banks.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, can I take this? I think it's very clear, on the terms of condition of USDC, we use banks, and we all know that banks had these, bonds that were backing the deposits, right? And we know that these bonds were down 80%, 90%. They were locked when, yields were 1%, so they're heavily underwater. And people, holding USDC willingly, or they should at least, because they put okay on terms and conditions, right, knew the risks that they were carrying. And this takes us to a very interesting point that a lot of DeFi users don't actually grasp the level of the risk that they're taking when they see the APY, as Argentinians did, with 19.5 on USD. It's just yield on dollars. Don't think too much about it, right? But we really need to dig deeper into these investments and really understand the very complex financial scenario behind each and every one of these, I think.
Yeah, there is a challenge of financial literacy, because what happened with USDC is the fact that, of course, these bonds that they were holding were longer term and illiquid due to variation in interest rates, but also that they were connected to a bank that was in the same situation and unable to redeem the amount that they were supposed to get back. So there was this connection between Circle and the bank, and both being in a situation unable to redeem their bonds. Right now, I think many of you know that there is MiCA, the regulation on stablecoins, European regulation, and there's a bit on MiCA, in relation to the collaterals being used that must be very liquid. And there is an issue here, and I'm going back to the fact that if you can, when you're selecting a stablecoin, go check the analytics, the reserves, and see the compositions, because if you're able to see that, you will see what type of protocols are including in their backing some bonds that they can redeem short term. Because if you see a protocol who is investing massively in long-term bonds and they're low liquidity and long-term bonds, there might be a trouble out there. So you want to maybe chase profitability, but if there's a black swan event, you end up with stuff like that. So.
It goes back to diversification, right? Like,
Yeah.
and when I say diversify, I don't just mean like within DeFi or within TradFi. Like, if you have money in banks, make sure you have some in DeFi. If you have money in DeFi, have some in banks. You never know what's going to be what's going to cause the explosion.
Absolutely. And I think besides the idea of like money being in banks, some of it does come down to just market pressures as to whether or not the actual buyers feel confidence that USDC is still worth $1. And it may very well still be so. However, the price is sort of denominated by, I'd say, what those buyers to choose to sell at or to buy at. So to move on, do you guys think it would be possibly safer to collateralize stable coins with assets that do not highly correlate to the ebbs and flows of the cryptocurrency market? And how would we do this? This was something that I thought about a lot back at Maker, and I'm interested to hear other people's opinions.
I think that the technology is there where you can collateralize it with almost anything nowadays. I think that
So
crypto,
are we doing that?
well, crypto's popular because there's a crypto conference. We all have a lot of crypto. We want to do something with it.
Right, but doesn't it also feel that if most of the collateral types for, say, like Maker are ERC20s, what have you, to what extent of them are like uncorrelated to the actual crypto market? Like if one thing goes down, normally it seems that a lot of stuff follows.
Yeah, I think that there's a very cool approach in terms of risk management. I think that crypto assets, highly correlated assets, are great because they're highly liquid and they can be atomically liquidated.
Yeah, you can sell them any time of the day.
Yeah, just atomic
That's
transaction.
why the shit dropped. That's why I think USDC
for sure.
went down to 92.
But for example, take MakerDAO, right? They have like limits. They have dead limits on every asset. So for example, you take, wrap BTC liquidity, stake this liquidity, whatever, and you simulate what a waterfall liquidation would look like, and you cap that supply at 30 million, 40 million, whatever million, right? So I think there's a smart approach to it. Don't do like Aave and give 100 and I don't know what millions to, Curve's founder. But I think that there is a smart approach, and I think the best collateral are, liquid assets that happen to be correlated. I would love it for them not to be correlated, but they are.
Okay, so maybe we need to do a little bit more work on bringing on non-correlated assets.
Well, sadly,
into
non-correlated
the blockchain.
assets are, custodial asset, right? So that takes us to the spectrum of decentralization.
Yeah, we're subject to quite a bit.
We're seeing experimentations around stablecoins pegged to gold, silver. We've tried to do that. At Angle, the infrastructure is very modular. We can actually as of tomorrow, it's just click and paste, we can do any stablecoin. But the problem behind doing, let's say, gold-pegged stablecoins is there are intense regulatory restrictions.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. So doing a euro or USD-pegged stablecoins, there's the practicality bit, because people are like, okay, this is a currency that I know and I can relate to. I can size, whatever I want to buy with it. But also, we were talking about target weight in the backing and diversification. Within one stablecoin, you can build in different target weights in order to alleviate the risk, of volatility. Because maybe you think if Ether collapses, hopefully at the same time your bonds will not, or it's the end of the world. I don't know.
No, totally. No, I agree. I think fears of regulation definitely put some limits on our ability to correlate with a more diverse basket. But to get back to actually decentralization, because it seems that that's important to us at all, people disagree about which stablecoins are decentralized. Can you define the term decentralized? Or would you say it's kind of like what the Supreme Court says about obscenity? You know it when you see it.
I actually just wrote a blog post on this very subject today, so
Yeah,
perfect timing.
I
Use the
saw
exact same quote. And basically, everyone can know it when they see it, but they can't define it. So I just said, all right, here's like the top 20 stablecoins, and I crowdsourced it. I said, you tell me what's decentralized and what's not. So obviously some patterns emerge, like what you would expect. USDC, USDT, very highly centralized. LUSD, Curve USD, the most decentralized. A lot of other ones kind of right in the middle. It's nice, though. It's finally quantified, because I'm a number junkie and I like that.
Totally. We need those number junkies.
Yeah, I think I have to, he mentioned LUSD, I think I have to commend Liquidity for being an example, flamboyant example of this decentralization. Apart from the fact that the backing is exclusively Ethereum, they have included so many bits that are a testimony to that decentralization. Even the fact that the front end is decentralized, the fact that you cannot pause the protocol, the fact that the contributors are truly contributors and you cannot assimilate them to co-founders. These are some bits that I know some lawyers are working on these criteria that they list from observation and experimentation from different protocol, and Liquidity is an example to that. And if you have that list, you can maybe apply that, because specifically in the European context, in the regulation that will apply to stablecoins, there's this concept called DINO. DINO is decentralized in name only. So right now the regulation is not supposed to apply to DeFi and decentralized stablecoin, but this supposes that you pass the test, the DINO test. So we just need to make sure, if you want to claim that you're decentralized, that all these indices that make you credible when you say decentralized, you implement them. On-chain votes, automatic implementation, all this stuff.
Yeah.
I love it.
And I think it's like, if you look at like anyone who's starting a company, like there usually has to be some level of centralization when you start any kind of project off.
I totally agree.
I think that, in DeFi we're very forgiving of it. We sort of have to be, because otherwise there would be nothing launched. But I think what we all want to see as a community is that the projects that start centralized push in the right direction, push towards decentralization.
For sure. So do any of you guys think that there are too many stablecoins already? A friend of mine, Amin Soleimani, told me that if he had his way, there would be 100x more stablecoins. Do you guys think maybe this would lead to more decentralization and less likelihood of systemic failure? Or would it cause further fracturing of liquidity and thus weakening all of them?
I love that there's a lot of stablecoins. I agree. 100x stablecoins would be great. When I go shopping, I like to see, just 100 brands of cereal, right, and just pick the best one. And I do think that Curve's innovation in terms of liquidity providing, just the amplification factor, that's great in terms of liquidity. I think liquidity for stablecoins on DeFi is just amazing. I mean, for us, people that were trading in 2017, 2016, just Ether Delta, today's current environment is just a dream. So I do think that same as banks, right? You have thousands of banks, you can just choose the best one for you. I do agree that just a lot of more stablecoins would be great for us.
I totally agree, and I want to add to that, because there's obviously a large diversity of USD-pegged stablecoins, but to me, there is a necessity to have other stablecoins denominated to other currencies, especially the euro. Briefly, why did we build AG euro? It's because consistently the euro is higher than the dollar. It wasn't true last year, but that reversed very quickly. And if you are someone who has your personal money in fiat, in euro, and you want to dabble in DeFi, what are you left with? You have to on-ramp to USD, convert, you're taking that change risk, then you get onto a DeFi platform, the opportunities are denominated in USD. So you're compounding in USD, that is ultimately lower than what you're getting. And then you go out, pay some other fees, then convert, and what are you left with, $15? So there's that issue as well, so we need to create opportunities for everyone.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's super encouraging to adoption to give more stables that are actually connected to different fiat currencies. Also, I would be interested to see stables that are connected with something maybe somewhat departed from fiat, but it might be a little bit early now because really, like, the world still sort of runs on dollars and fiat, and the bankers are still going to think that way.
And alongside 100x stablecoins, we need 1,000x consumer education, because with 100x stablecoins, there's going to be a lot of scams.
But what if rather than 1,000x consumer education, we had 5 fucking good stablecoins and the consumer's going to feel rugged?
I mean, we basically do. If you look at the market cap for stablecoins, it's 67% Tether. You can debate whether or not Tether is a good stablecoin, but the market has chosen that that's the one that they want to consider the plurality or majority stablecoin.
Totally. I like that answer. So I talked to you guys a little bit on Telegram before we got up here, and you guys are DeFi nerds that are super legit, it seems, and you're interested in talking about Treasury bills. So I have a question about that. Given the fact that T-bill rates can be highly manipulated by the Federal Reserve, why are they a good form of collateral for stables? And maybe you don't think they are, but.
So I think we saw during DeFi summer that yield is the killer app for anything, and I think the US government's figuring it out now that if they can jack their yields up to 6%, they're going to see money flow in. So it's great that we're also seeing more tokenization of the T-bills actually finding its way on chain. I think it's going to find its way back to DeFi, and DeFi is going to compete.
Okay, so you think Treasury bills help enhance yield, and what are advantages or disadvantages that the two of you would see to T-bills, or either of you?
No, yeah, I 100% agree that yield is the killer app. I mean, money talks, and you go where the money is. That's 100%. I think that a great disadvantage would be that it's highly centralized. It's completely custodial, right? You can get like synthetic T-bills or whatever, but at the end of the day, there's like a company based, I don't know where, just holding the T-bills, and you're subject to his or her goodwill, right? It's goodwill, and I think that's definitely a con, right? And on the pro side, I would argue that technical risk nowadays in DeFi is rampant. There's like billions of dollars hacked every year, so I do think that eliminating technical risk, it's sort of an ad, but on the other hand, you trusting your money to someone.
Totally.
I think here the goal is to have a really good mix between the risks that Cedric just mentioned, but also the attractivity of being able to, bring that yield on chain. And earlier, at the beginning of the conversation, Santi was mentioning, or you, the fact that there's currencies are manipulable and people are subject to inflation. Now, if these T-bills are paying yield, there are companies like Circle. They own a lot of bonds, but they're not paying out what they're earning with these bonds to people holding USDC. And there's an opportunity with different decentralized euro stablecoins, if you integrate some bonds in your backing, then to redistribute a risk-free yield to your holders to alleviate the weight of that inflation. And MakerDAO is doing that pretty well right now with their DAI savings rate. We're on the road to do that as well, so that's one of the advantages as well. Yeah.
Totally. Awesome. These are great responses. So now to move on to one of the hot topics that particularly interests me right now. A growing number of stablecoins are using liquid staked ETH as collateral at this point. Do you think there is a potential overhanging catastrophe for the ETH ecosystem, given that the great majority of stake derivatives are in a single protocol, i.e. Lido? And if you are worried about this, what is a proposed solution, and how do you answer the argument that a protocol shouldn't be penalized for its success?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So it's quite fun how just economic incentives push us to, sort of delegated proof of stake or on the path to delegated proof of stake. But I do think that the market will correct itself, and if it's not, it's just the direction it chose. Sorry. So I do think it's not great in terms of decentralization, but the market will choose in what part of the spectrum it wants Ethereum and its applications to be.
Yeah. And what do we think about maybe considering other applications out there that do something similar to Lido that are maybe emphasizing stuff like distributed validator technology? For example, like the protocol ClayStack is coming out with more options. Do people feel that they're eager to sort of start staking in other places in an effort to sort of create that decentralization, or is it more comfortable to stick with that which provides higher yield?
Well, it's a tricky thing, really. I mean, it's hard to just wander away from the main guy, the safe guy, the protocol that has all these assurances, all this battle testing. So it's really tricky, and to be honest, I don't really have, a clear path forward. I'm just intrigued to see how it develops.
I feel you. I don't think Vitalik does either.
I hope he does.
We'll see.
I was a few days ago reading about that. I read that figure saying that only 16% of ETH is staked right now. To me, that's pretty low, because I think if you love Ethereum, you do stake your ETH to secure the protocol. But at the same time, we're seeing that monopoly, I don't want to use that word, but a predominance of Lido in the staking environment. One initiative that I commend is, for example, the mini pools by Rocket recently that lowered the threshold, allowing people to stake with becoming a validator with lower capital requirements. I think there's an effort of education, but also UX to be done there, because I believe with this 16%, we can push that way higher, but there is a challenge in creating the apps, the education as well, to allow everyone to become a validator at lower costs, but also even the education, because so many people just don't know how to do it. That's why they rely on Lido. And I'm putting it out there, actually, it's something I feel very concerned with, and I'm looking for people to do a workshop next year, starting doing workshop in conferences called Noob to Validator workshops. So if you're interested, say hi.
I mean, we're very lucky because Ethereum has been built out in such a decentralized way, but there's so many places where it's trended towards centralization. Lido, Flashbots, Geth, most validators are being execution clients are Geth. So we're just very lucky that so many of the people do actually hold core to the principles and are working to keep things as decentralized as we can.
Totally. So earlier, you all told me about what your favorite stablecoin was, or maybe you didn't. However, diversification theory would suggest that we wouldn't want to put all our eggs in one basket. So what is your second and third favorite stablecoins, and why? Like, what's just a stablecoin that you think with a dope design that is going to add value to the world out there, and maybe even a cultural or solar or lunar punk way?
I'm happy to turn the rest of the panel into shilling Curve USD, but I don't know if people want to stick around for that.
I'll give you 2 minutes.
So Curve USD was recently launched. As mentioned before, it's identified as one of the most decentralized stablecoins. It's also incredibly capital efficient amongst the decentralized stablecoins. And on top of that, it's held since launch, it's held a tighter peg than any other stablecoin, including the centralized ones like USDC, USDT. So it's performing fantastic. I have tried it out myself, and at the moment, while Mitch is trying to spur adoption, there's some very nice yields for it on top of it. So. Yeah,
for sure, I agree. I wouldn't give it to my 17-year-old daughter because I think it's not really that tested, right? I mean, it's quite new. I think it's very promising.
Agreed.
Definitely promising. I really like it, so I would put it second. But I think on third place, I would put like local fiat stablecoin currencies, right? For example, in Argentina, we have a stablecoin. Shout out to NUM Finance. That's called NUM Ars. That actually, can give you exposure to Argentinian Treasury bills, right, or Treasury bills equivalent. So in that way, for example, it really opens the door for local people in different countries that have to transact in the native currency and not have to suffer like 130% annual inflation because they can't just hold the digital version of the country's currency, right? So I think that's very promising. Stablecoin design dominance.
Nice.
I would say AG Euro, the stablecoins I'm building. But the reason is, of course, we talked about diversification of backing. That's important. That's what we're doing, the targets, weights, and also the savings rate in order to alleviate the inflation. But something, we just released the white paper on the version 2 that will be live in a few weeks. One thing we wanted to address with working on that version 2 is not only the diversification part, not only the savings rate part, but also, what we've seen with the USDC DPEG or with Luna is when there is a black swan event that's non-evitable, it's the first out takes everything and just leaves everyone dry. So right now with the V2 and what we call the smart contract, what we call the transmuter, is let's say there is an issue with one asset in the backing and AG Euro falls to 0.97. Some people could, in the normal state of the other protocols, people can come and withdraw from the protocol the asset that hasn't fallen yet. So the rest is left with nothing. If that happens, if you come with your AG Euro, you would be able to retrieve a portion of everything, just like a 3CRV system. So this is a way to maintain some fairness and not leave someone who was sleeping because they were not in the right time zone with zero money when they wake up. So, yeah.
Right.
I think there's also some interesting innovation going on. A quick plug for an honorable mention in LatinDAO is building FFX protocol, which they basically took an Ethereum and they split it into XETH, which is about 10% volatility. So it's essentially, they say it functions like a stable coin, but it gives you like a little bit of the upside, or a little bit of the downside, but your losses are not too severe. And then the other half is the like wild party FETH, which is just gets all the extra yield or it gets turbo wrecked. So it's like pretty interesting the way that they're dividing it up. They could have done it as just stable coin and full yield, but they say they're rethinking and redesigning stable coins.
Awesome. So just to bring it back to the audience before I dominate the conversation once again, does anyone have any questions for these rock stars up here as to what they'd like to know in terms of a stablecoin discussion? Does everyone think it's going well? All right, let's go.
Hey guys, thank you for the great panel. I have a question related to the stablecoin, and in this case, did you guys look into this concept of like backing the stablecoin with the delta neutral strategy by basically going long and short on some asset, and that way we are like don't have this problem of like having like over collateralized stablecoins.
Yeah, actually, there's a really good article called, I think, the NACA dollar from Arthur Hayes, which I recommend you can read if you want to dig deeper. But you still, that's a good design that hasn't been tested yet, and I do think there's like a really cool project that unfortunately I'm tied in another I can't do right now, but I think it's a great model.
This requires quite a lot of capital. Because you need to be able to long or short, in a sizable amount depending of your supply. That's the first thing. At Angle, we used to have a mechanism like that because before the V2, in the core module where you could mint 1 AG Euro for another asset, we had USDC. But the problem is you were taking a 1 USDC to issue a Euro stablecoin. So you have a change risk out there. That we wanted to alleviate and not have that constant change risk. Even if it's certain sense, you don't know if the dollar collapses borrow you debt. So we had some people who would long or short the dollar, take that risk, and we were covered from that change risk just like that. But then we really did not want, in our price stability module, to take that change risk, so we altogether excluded USD dollar from that mechanisms. It's something you can do, but you need to be very consistent and solid in the amounts you invest in the hedging. So.
Does anyone else have a question for our rock stars? All right.
There was some mention about gold-backed stablecoins. May I ask what the regulatory issues are that you have those stablecoins?
Repeat that one more time with the mic. That'll
So you
amplify,
mentioned
please.
gold-backed stablecoins, other precious metal-backed stablecoins, and you mentioned some regulatory issues. Could you elaborate a bit on those? And aside those, what do you think about such stablecoins?
I think gold-backed stablecoins, just like the packs, are attractive to people because gold is like a long-standing commodity, and you know where it stands, and people do trust it. The problem is commodity law is a very hefty and complicated regulation, specifically in the US. And you can do a wrapper of packs and make it transferable, which is not the case already. So that's already good innovation there. But if you want to do your own stablecoin, you need to really circumvent and prevent US people from using it. And the requirements to prove that you did all the diligence to ban US people from touching that gold-backed stablecoins are hard. You would think basically that you need a VPN, but no, you still have to prove that you use the best VPN, that you are blocking VPN blockers. I mean, it's a lot. It's a conversation that you can have with a lawyer, but it's basically that what is, preventing people from doing this commodity law.
Thank you.
Right. So yeah, sometimes it's hard to take real-world assets and put them on chain and use them in a meaningful way because, like you pointed out, there's a number of external factors, most importantly, regulation and other business interests that aren't all at ETH Barcelona partying with us.
Or you do it and you never go to any conference in the US.
So we are at ETH Barcelona, but many of us might actually own some WBTC. Some of our friends could, some of our best friends might even be Bitcoin maxis, or maybe they're not actually our friends, whatever. But if you were charged with marketing stable coins to an audience of Bitcoin maxis, what would you say?
Well, the 14th largest cryptocurrency is wrapped BTC, which is kind of mind-boggling. It found its way over in the last DeFi summer when they were promising yields of, I think, like 5–10% around the time. And that's been great because Orange Coin has just sat there and done nothing. It's very resistant to innovation, so the prospect that you can keep your sats and make money, pretty good. Now then, pretty much everyone who did wrap it, a lot of it got lost, a lot of it got destroyed, yields have fallen down to 1% to 2%, so just kind of sitting there doing nothing. But I do think that there's a second wave, like CurveUSD has recently launched WBTC as collateral, so I do think that there's a new wave of ways that you can actually put the WBTC to new use, and some more innovative other forms of wrapped Bitcoin, like eBTC from Badger DAO it's not a wrapped Bitcoin, but still pretty interesting. So I think we're going to see a revival of Bitcoin DeFi, and it's going to happen on Ethereum.
I like it.
Yeah, I would actually say just keep your coins on chain, right? I think that stable coins of BTC really miss the point of BTC, that it's just full control of your money on a decentralized way. And I do think that wrapped BTC has a lot of, it's a custodial stablecoin. So if that person is a Bitcoin maxi, just let it keep its Bitcoins, right?
Sounds good. Mariam, do you have any thoughts?
Gerrit was mentioning DeFi on Bitcoin. We're seeing increasingly so many protocols want to achieve that. I think stacks. So I think the more we'll see these second layers enabling DeFi on Bitcoin, you will see stable coins with BTC backing emerging, and that's where I think they'll be more interested in stablecoins. Right now, I don't think we can get. I've had conversations with Bitcoin maxis. It's hard.
Yeah.
They came around to ordinals though, so
Yeah.
They might not be the customers, but we do something with them. But okay, you guys are rock stars. These were all wonderful responses and such an awesome dialogue and discussion. Thank you for teaching me more about this important space that we're all living and participating in. So yeah, let's give a round of applause for these wonderful people.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. Thank you.